thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
Look, the other one I was going to speak about, which is like a childhood favorite of mine from when I was very young, back from about early '80s, I suppose, is called Land of the Giants, which is the
Oh,
US
yes.
show. From It's cheesy as, but I like it. And I remember it fondly from when I was about 10. And then I remembered there were some reruns on New Zealand TV back in the mid '90s when I was at law school. But I remember watching it on sort of rainy Sundays because they play reruns back to back with Land of the Giants. With Lost in Space, which is about the same time, and kind of
Same producer.
similar sci-fi
Okay.
series.
Was it
so,
Irwin Allen?
Yeah,
Irwin
both
Allen,
Irwin Allen.
Okay.
yeah. So it's the same time and effectively the same genre as Lost in Space, which is also cool as well. And it's very Land of the Giants is very much of its time. It's ostensibly set on another planet that they crash land on. The main protagonists, good guys, are supposed to be, I think, humans from maybe 50 years in the future, such that they've mastered the art of space travel. But like Planet of the Apes, something goes wrong with the spacecraft and it crash lands on another planet, which in the first episode just looks like a gas giant sort of grayish planet. It doesn't look beautifully blue and green like the Earth does. But they crash on this sort of fog-bound planet in a swamp somewhere. But then they soon encounter I think a large cat initially, and then a wild cat, and then a young boy picks up the spacecraft. He's obviously of giant size. So the other planet, most of you probably are familiar with the show, but the other planet is peopled by humans, but they're giant humans, and it's the Earth. It's effectively this other planet about the same technological stage as 1968 Earth, which is around the time when the series was made. It's about 1968, I think, and but the government and the police force in this alternate Earth, giant Earth, is corrupt and effectively authoritarian type government. And there is an Inspector Kopik who comes in sort of halfway through the first series as a regular villain, if you like, who's ahead of the inspectorate and the police force, trying to track down the little people and find out
Gotta catch
about
those little people, man. We're sneaky.
I don't know. I don't know why they're seen as a threat. They're somehow seen as this massive threat, or they want to try and obtain, the secrets of their technology and so forth. But there's not much. There's only a very veneer of diversity, I think, in the main protagonists, the crew. It's you've got Captain Steve Burton, who's sort of the the stereotypical hero, head of the mission. There's two ladies, Valerie and Betty, who are late 60s cover model type people. And there's a guy, Mark, who's, I think he's supposed to be a scientist of some sort who's part of the crew. There's a cowardly sort of self-interested character called Alexander, played by Kurt Kasner, who is a bit like a Dr. Zachary Smith type character in Lost in Space. He's usually throwing a spanner in the works somehow by acting in a selfish way or cowardly way. But
is he the one that's
good.
always yelling and screaming, "Giant! Is a giant!"
Yes, he's like that. He's always panicking.
That's the one character I remember from that show.
He's not evil like Zachary Smith was in terms of trying to actively undermine the rest of the crew, but he is sort of cowardly and self-interested and often gets into jams, which then creates troubles for the rest of the crew. And there's a young child called Barry who I think he had a dog as well. And he's often getting into trouble and as a result has to be rescued as well.
The dog or the kid?
Well, both, I think. The dog often runs off and then they chase after the dog, and then there's giants come marching through what looks like a swamp. Looks like a giant swamp set in Florida or something where it's set. So so it's very much like Lost in Space, although Lost in Space was set on another planet, whereas this is very much like Earth. It's just at an alternative Earth where everything is giant. And they come across, I suppose when it's most effective, is when they come across giant animals, such as a giant cat that attacks them, or there's one scene, I think they get caught in a spider, or someone gets caught in a spider web, And then there's next thing you know, there's a giant spider when they're going down a drain somewhere. There's often a lot of scenes where they're going down drains to escape or get into laboratories or whatever, and or climbing up onto desks using a wire or a cord and trying to lift a phone off a hook and this kind of thing, or a pencil.
Incredible shrinking man.
These kind of scenes seem to get repeated ad nauseum through the show.
Attack of the Puppet People was like that too.
But it's sort of, it's one of those, it's almost, it's so bad it's good. It's a bit of a guilty pleasure, and it's good to watch as a bit of a slice in time for the late 60s sci-fi. The special effects are nothing to write home about, as you'd expect from 1968. So you might see a hand of a giant reaching towards some of the crew who are stuck in a corner, but as the hand comes forward, it looks like, for all the world, like a fake hand that's approaching them, you know. So it's not fantastic. It's special effects. It's probably a medium budget for its time as well.
Yeah.
But the diversity is not really there. The females characters are fairly one-dimensional and often having to be rescued by somebody. There's an African American, I think his name's Don.
Oh wow!
Probably African American character member of the crew. He's in there, but he's the only one who's of other ethnicity out of a crew of about 8 or 9 people.
They saw Star Trek and they're like, yeah, I guess we got to start doing this now too.
Yeah. So that was their
attempt. You think really?
1968 attempt at diversity.
Yeah.
But and then there's the Inspector Kopek, who starts appearing sort of half after the first half dozen episodes, and after that he's pretty much in every second episode. He's a giant
inspector.
Yeah, they're just they're just giants. They're humans, but they're everything's shot at them from looking like from the floor upwards, because they're supposed to be the human when the main characters are supposed to be up to their shin level, if they're, or even less actually. Wow. If they're standing next to them.
Micronauts.
Yeah, they went off on some tangents where they one episode they end up in going to underground on the planet, and they end up, there's another race of giants of the same size who live underground but regard the land dwelling giants as enemies, and that was one of the tangent episodes.
Definitely an alternate Earth right there.
Yeah, an alternate Earth on the same planet. Most people probably won't remember it because it's 1968 and I was born in 1970, so I wasn't around when it was made. But I think by the time it made its way to our TV, it was probably about 1980 when I was about 10. So I remember it first from then.
It was syndicated here, but I don't think I ever watched it. I know of it, but I don't. Yeah, I'm learning, so keep going.
You can still locate it on YouTube. There's episodes on YouTube, but somehow they're kind of hard to watch because the graphics seem to be out. But it can be located on YouTube and possibly available on other things like Blu-ray. I'm just not sure, but it's quite a cheesy sort of sci-fi slice of time from the late 60s.
Very cool.
And if people like Lost in Space, I think they're probably going to also enjoy Land of the Giants because they're of the same era, same producer, Irwin Allen.
Irwin Allen, yeah, did all the disaster movies in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Damn.
Well, there wasn't part of that conspiracy theory about the moon landing, which I don't believe, which suggests that the moon landing was fake. And
well, now everyone's saying Stanley Kubrick filmed it. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I was on an Irwin Allen set somewhere in the back.
Oh yeah, right. It was an Irwin Allen set. Yeah.
They just adapted the set from Lost in Space. Although
Kubrick and Allen were like, they'll never figure this out.
Yeah, but Lost in Space had a lot of vegetation on it, whereas the moon obviously is vegetation free.
Yep.
But anyway, so that's my second pick.
Thank you, sir. That was lovely. I like hearing about those shows from old days, and I remember the Beastmaster. It was a trip. So
yeah.
Well, listen. Good luck with your stuff.
Yeah,
and
take care.
Condolences and everything. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I have to write a speech at some point because I've been asked to speak on behalf of all the friends, because this guy crossed over a VFL commentator, a university professor, and then I've been asked to speak on behalf of the friends, and it looks like it's going to be up to 1,500 people there. So,
oh wow,
wish me luck.
Yeah. You got this.
Yeah, I had trouble talking at my mom's funeral. There was like 4 of us there. So good luck, man.
Oh, really? Well,
take it
yeah, but
easy.
that's the other thing too. Grief. If you're grieving, it's hard to speak as well. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Hang
Yeah.
in there, brother. You need to talk. We're here.
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yeah.
See you all.
All right, mate.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Take care.
Bill.
Hey, I'll be real quick here because I gotta go. That's God, it's 11.
Okay. You're
okay.
frozen to me on my screen. Are you frozen?
Oh, am I?
Is it
Yeah.
frozen to you guys?
I'm just
Yeah.
seeing black.
Yeah.
It's just an
Yeah, like
avatar
I'm
of
hearing,
Bill.
but
Okay,
I
well,
got a frozen Bill.
I mean, it's a good looking avatar. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, hold on. Let me see. I'll
You can still talk if you want because we do have a Spotify audio version now, everybody.
Oh, okay.
So this episode itself won't be on Spotify for months.
Okay. Well, this,
Yeah.
like I said, this will be
Takes
quick.
a while to catch up when you've got like a year of backlog.
Yeah. First 4 episodes are on Spotify. Check us out.
So, okay, so this is a TV movie from 1973 called A Cold Night's Death. It is available on YouTube. Not a terrific print, but maybe as good as we're going to find it. It stars Robert Culp from I Spy and about 1,000 other TV roles, and the great Eli Wallach from Baby Doll, The Magnificent Seven, The Misfits, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. He was the ugly. Godfather Part 3, How the West Was Won. Just an icon.
Was
Did
this
a lot
just
of
a
Western
TV movie? Just a regular
Yep,
TV?
just a regular TV movie. And if you're a big fan of John Carpenter's The Thing, and why wouldn't you be? You can see where this maybe this was an influence. I'm sure Carpenter saw it. He did TV movies himself. It takes place almost entirely at an isolated research station in the Arctic Circle, where they've been getting some weird radio signals from the guy who was working there, working on monkeys, working on chimps actually. And things are going weird. The guy seems to be talking to Alexander the Great and Napoleon, and all right, they know things. You get a little snow crazy, and they go down there, find him dead. He's dead in a room. The window's open, the door's unlocked. He's frozen to death. He doesn't look peaceful. They claim that freezing to death is a peaceful way to die. I'm not sure that's true, but definitely from his face, it looks like there's terror. So now they're there and they're trying to figure out what went wrong. They're trying to get the monkeys all back to health. And they begin to start getting on each other's nerves. They do a pretty good job of showing how these two people are both brilliant, but approach mysteries in a different way. And they're starting to get on each other's nerves and noticing that each one thinks the other guy is messing up, leaving us the refrigerator is running, the door is open, this and everything, and then begin to suspect that maybe there might be something else going on. And I'm not going to say a whole lot more because really the joy of this is unlocking the mystery. And just want to say, I personally think a great ending, and by ending I mean literally the last shot in the movie. I've read other reviews where they say it's that shot that ruined it. It was going great up till that. It's like, I don't think I would have even remembered it except for that last shot. That last shot is what gets me going. Now, of course, if you're like me, as soon as somebody says, oh, there's a shock ending, you're looking for it, you'll figure it out. And quite honestly, you probably will figure it out. But at the time, this hit me like a ton of bricks. But the movie as a whole, even if you know going in what the story is, they really do well on a very limited budget on an obviously necessarily small set and cast. They get the themes of isolation, paranoia, suspense. I mean, they do a really good job. And yeah,
Did you see this first run?
Yep.
And what year was it again?
I think 73.
Okay, now do you remember when I covered Spectre last Halloween?
Yes.
Yeah, that also had Robert Culp, but that was a pilot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that
him.
would have been. Yeah, he was great.
Oh yeah.
He spent a lot of time. He apparently must have enjoyed working with Bill Cosby because they also did some movies and other things other than I Spy together. I just saw we just did on another podcast Mark of the Devil with Reggie Nalder, and I was looking up his. He hated Bill Cosby, and he hated Bill Cosby before we all hated Bill Cosby.
Oh wow.
Nalder died, I think, in the
Robert
80s
Culp
or so.
Yeah, Nalder was old as hell.
Reggie
or
Nalder.
Roger
Yeah,
Nalder.
I
Okay.
never heard Culp say a bad word about him.
Culp
now
was
they're
a super intellectual, and he was close friends
Mm.
with Sam Peckinpah. He's written some great essays about the Wild Bunch.
Mm.
Yeah, I love Culp.
so it's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah,
Like I say, just I like these films that were able to do a lot with a very small budget. Gargoyles was probably fairly top budget for a TV movie.
yeah.
Obviously, some of the later ones like Salem's Lot and everything, but just these ones that had to come out once a week or so, the ABC, whatever, something, something. TV movies took up a big chunk of our viewing time.
They did.
Yeah.
They didn't do a lot of horror, but when they did, I think they had a pretty good success rate.
It was
There's
intelligent
plenty,
stuff.
and even the ones that were smaller and didn't really, they kind of stuck with you. I'm not sure why. My theory is that when it was over, you're in your house. Now you have to go to bed, and there's no drive home or talking to anyone, especially if you were a kid. You were probably staying up later than you were supposed to. So it was like dark ending and then straight to your dark room.
The ending of
Yep.
Thomas Tryon's the adaptation, The Legend of what's it called, Harvest Home.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw it as a kid, man, that ending wrecked me, man.
And the 70s were also the golden age of downer endings.
Yeah, I will say that
So-
one.
Yeah, they were.
I have a copy of Harvest Home I got from Murray Lawson. In my opinion, that one does not hold up. Most of them do, though. Most of them did. That one, I was like, why am I not wrecked after this one again? Why is it so kind of corny?
But it was interesting as a kid where, you sort of grow up
Yeah.
with the happy endings and stuff. And
Yeah.
it's like Black Noon,
Race with the
Cold
Devil
Night's
fucked in my
Death.
head.
Yeah, all of these things. Even Kolchak was kind of
Yeah.
a downer ending that the hero gets ridden out of town on a rail.
Yeah, the ending's
And,
very
he survived, but so he kind of taught you the way the world was. But then, of course,
Yeah.
70s turn on the news and not a lot of happy endings there either. Listen,
Well,
guys, I got to run off.
All
I got to
right,
make
man.
some food for tomorrow.
Okay.
So great seeing
Sounds
y'all.
good.
See you
Take
next
care,
time.
okay? Yep.
Take care.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Bill.
Bye.
Have a good one.
See if I can unfreeze myself now and get out of this chair.
Thanks, man.
Yikes.
So I think you're next, Kaylin.
Yes. So the other one that I want to talk about is so at the beginning of talking about this topic, you mentioned that Twin Peaks is like your all-time favorite TV series, and it's one of mine as well. This is my other all-time favorite,
Okay.
and
I
this
haven't
one
seen it.
is, huh?
I don't think I've seen this, what you're about to mention.
Really?
Oh,
Pretty sure. I
oh,
Oh man, you've got to watch this. So Sense8 is my
it's
other
great.
show.
Okay.
Yes. I'm glad you're a fan as well, Chuck. It's such a good show.
I love this.
I have so many feelings about this show and how everything with it went down that I'll get to in a sec.
Oh,
But
you got to
my
lay
God,
this on
I
me
love
because
this.
Tim Tolbert, I told Tim noticed you were going to do it. And, with Tim, I mean, even when you're face to face, I couldn't tell if he liked it or didn't like it. He was so, he was flipped.
I would love to hear Tim's take on this, actually.
Well, he was just like, I can't wait for Kaylin to cover this. And I'm like, he typed it. So I'm like,
can't wait to
I
cover
have-
this good or can't wait to cover this
I have no
bad?
idea. And I forgot to ask him follow up. So we'll find out soon. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Oh, that'll be interesting. So Sense8, one of my all-time favorite TV shows. This was created by the Wachowski sisters, so
Oh,
same
okay.
folks who did The Matrix
Yeah.
and
you
a
did
bunch
tell
of
me
other
about it.
stuff that I
Yeah.
love. Of course.
Cloud Atlas.
So
Didn't they do Cloud Atlas?
yes.
Yeah, they did.
So season 1 of this,
I like this better than any of those.
Sense8 is like just
See, that's how
God,
I
I
am
love
with
it.
that's how I am with Joss Whedon. I love Serenity and Dollhouse, and I don't like any of his
Yeah.
other stuff anymore, even the Avengers.
that's the correct take.
Okay, all right, it's not just me. Okay, I
No
love
arguments
Serenity.
here.
I love Serenity.
A lot of his stuff has not aged well. He
Yeah.
was like a very good, like
But Dollhouse
know,
was so underrated, and nobody
decently
watched it.
progressive, like feminist adjacent
Yeah.
guy in the early 2000s.
Well, you
And now
think-
we're 20 years later and none of it has aged well.
he
Yeah.
showed the world his love for women, and it elevated everyone, inspired everybody. But we didn't know how much he loved women in other ways. That was the only problem.
Hey, all right. So anyway, Sense8.
And how much he
made-
didn't love some
He
women.
disrespected
Oh my
women.
gosh.
Yeah.
So speaking of women, let's talk about Sense8, directed by Lana and Lily Wachowski, created by them, two of my favorite directors of all time. So this is a Netflix show. It came out, the first season came out in 2015. The second season aired over the course of part of 2016 and into 2017. And then very suddenly, in June of 2017, Netflix announced that the show was being canceled. Season 2 at that point ended with like just everything was up in the air. It's like nobody could tell where it was going to go from there. It was just a terrible, terrible spot to end the thing. It was like, you know, since you brought up Joss Whedon, it was like Firefly all over again. For a lot of
Firefly.
people.
I said Serenity. That's the movie. I meant Firefly.
Yeah. I figured you meant like Firefly and Serenity, but so it was like Firefly all over again, basically. Just like, no, you can't do this to me. This is the best show. Why are you doing this? Basically, it was too expensive to make because this amazing show spanned the literal globe. They did on-site filming in several different countries because the cast of characters span several continents. So there's 8 main characters because the whole premise for this show is you've got these like super duper special evolved humans that have this like psychic and physical connection with each other. They're all born on the same date. This group was all born on August 8th, 1988 in the cluster that they're grouped together with. And what happens is somebody from one of these clusters gives birth to a new cluster, you know, basically awakening this thing in them that makes them able to do this. And so these 8 characters experience this when this woman, you know, births their cluster and then kills herself because she's being hunted by somebody who wants them all dead. So after the show was canceled, there was massive protest from the fans because everybody really wanted like to see what was going to happen from here because it was such a terrible, abrupt ending. And what they ended up doing is Netflix actually let the Wachowski sisters do basically a 2-hour-long special, basically a movie, to wrap up the story. So they ended up, you know, obviously having to like, you know, cut it short a little bit, make some changes, get a whole lot of arcs neatly tied up in 2 hours, and they did phenomenally well.
That's good.
As far as I'm concerned.
Not,
it was
not all cult
impressive.
shows that are canceled are able to do that.
Yeah, it was amazing that they were able to do this, and they handled it so beautifully. It was incredible. So the movie or last episode is titled Amor Vincit Omnia, which is Latin for Love Conquers All. Love wins against everything. And so like I said, there's 8 main characters. They span the world. There's Riley, who is a young Icelandic woman. She's a DJ. She's living in Amsterdam at the time that the show starts. There's Will, who's an American cop. Obligatory ACAB comment. There's Nomi, who's an American hacker and activist or hacktivist. She's also a trans woman. Love her. Wolfgang, who is a German safecracker. Paula, who is an Indian pharmacist. Capheus, who's a Kenyan bus driver. He drives a bus that is themed after Jean-Claude Van Damme, and he calls it Van Dan, D-A-M-N.
Oh, God.
Capheus is a precious, precious man. I love him. Sun, who is a Korean business executive. She works for her like family company, basically, until she gets massively screwed over because her brother, who of course is the favored child because, you know, sexism, he's embezzling funds and she ends up going to jail and basically taking the fall for him because it makes their father happy. It's bullshit. And Lito, who is a Mexican actor, and he's also gay and closeted. Some other major characters are Nomi's partner, Amanita, who is probably my favorite character on the show, who is not one of the SENSE8s.
Amanita, like Amanita muscaria, like mushrooms that get you high? That's what Amanita muscaria is.
I never thought about that, but probably because she was literally raised in a commune of like polyamorous hippies. So that makes sense.
Brilliant.
I love her. I love her so much.
Played by
what? What'd you say?
Her name is Freema Jimin or
Oh, the
something.
woman who was
She's,
on Doctor
Yes.
Who?
yeah,
Yeah,
Martha
Oh
on
God,
Doctor
she's
Who.
I was
gorgeous
gonna
as
say, and
hell.
I actually
Oh my
got to
God.
see her a few years ago at Dragon Con, which was
Wow.
awesome. Getting to hear her speak, like she wasn't there for Sense8 specifically.
Right.
Obviously, this is a cult show, but
Was she there for Doctor Who?
I think it was Doctor Who. It's been a few years at this point, and like these all blur together in my head,
She was
especially
so gorgeous.
especially because I don't tend to go to the really big panels. I just kind of tend to like pop in for a second if like something cool is going on in one of the rooms that I'm like managing or whatever. I'm just like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so I got to see her talk. It was
Oh,
really cool because we were slow and I was just like, I'm gonna stand here for a
Now,
minute.
is
and
she
just listen.
African? Is the actress African? Or is she English of African descent?
Oh gosh, hold on.
Because there's one thing I think is really sexy is a black woman with an English accent. I don't know why, but it's really hot.
She is English.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
Yep, I had to Google it because I was like,
Yeah.
oh man,
She's in that category, man.
I don't remember, but
Very cool.
yeah, so she's a major character on there as well. Leto has a partner who ends up being a pretty major character as well. Her name is Hernando. Let's see. I think interestingly, maybe because the Wachowski sisters are queer folks, the queer characters in this show are the best characters, like all of them.
I was gonna
They're
say,
amazing.
it sounds like there's a lot of
It is one of the queerest shows I've ever seen, and one of the
That's an
reasons I love
endorsement,
this-
okay? People watching. Go ahead.
It really is. Also, one of the reasons that I love this show so much, other than it just being an amazingly high quality, in my opinion, show, is that like not only is there amazing queer representation and amazingly like accurate and well thought out and fleshed out queer representation, especially between a trans character and a cis character who are romantic partners, because Amanita will absolutely throw down for Nomi at any given moment. She literally breaks her partner here out of a hospital where she is being imprisoned against her will.
Yes.
And like there's so much like transphobia going on and everything. I was just like, I would do that, for any trans people in my life. Like I'm not cis, I'm non-binary, but still. I would go to any length to protect the people I love. And so just seeing Amanita doing that, just I really love it. But in addition to all the good queer representation, it's also one of very tremendously few good examples of polyamorous representation that I've seen. Because one, like I said, Amanita was raised in a commune, and that's the situation. She has 3 dads because her mom is polyamorous. She has these 3 men in her life. They're all her partners. They don't know which one is her biological father, and nobody cares. It doesn't matter. It's just not relevant to them. They're just like, well, it's one of us, it's fine. And so they all 4 of them raised her. So there's that, and that's a really cool thing to see. And then like within the like cluster of these 8 major main characters, some of them have relationships with each other, and some of them have relationships with people outside of that. Kala, the Indian pharmacist character, ends up having an arranged marriage to this guy that she loves and cares about, but she's also super, super, super attracted to Wolfgang, one of the other sensates in her cluster. And one of the really freaking cool things is it's suggested that maybe they could make this work somehow, and the movie actually goes for it. It is so freaking cool. Like they actually decide, actually, yeah, she can totally be with both of these men. It's fine. And like they decide to accept it because she loves both of them. She doesn't want to choose. Right. And it's so rare to see that. And just for me, it's like, queer representation is getting better over time. Trans representation is getting better over time. I still see so few examples of like healthy non-monogamous relationships in media that this show was so important for me, especially because I started watching it at the time that I started trying that relationship structure in my own life.
Oh, okay.
So like that representation is so important to me. More just like story stuff.
Let me ask you a question. So
yeah.
Other than these connections, other than like their personal connections, what is this power thing that binds them together? What's the thrust of it? I mean, what are they doing? When they find each other, what do they just
right
tells their stories, or do they have some kind of mission or purpose or?
Yeah, getting there.
Oh, okay. I just wasn't sure.
I was
mean,
literally
it could
about
just
to
be-
go there.
I thought it was maybe just like a soap opera, which I'm fine with too.
Oh,
know?
no.
Okay.
It is like a really, really cool science fiction
Okay.
thing. So like I said, somebody from another cluster gives birth to their cluster and then kills herself because this guy, his name is Whispers, or what he goes by as Whispers. He's working for this organization called the Biological Preservation Organization, or BPO. And they are an org of SENSE8 hunters. Basically, they're trying to eliminate SENSE8s from the world because and this is where you see that this is a very, like, in the grand scheme of science fiction, a very post 9/11 science fiction show. They even explicitly say in the show 9/11 is what changed that, because previously the organization protected people like that, but they started to hunt them down because with all of the concerns that people in the United States and worldwide had about like security and everything, it's like, oh, well, these humans have this weird biological advantage that we don't fully understand. That's dangerous. Like, this can be used for terrorism, this can be used for espionage and all of that stuff. And so they hunt them down and they perform lobotomies on people who have this ability so that they can no longer do it. And obviously, that just completely wrecks them as people. They're husks. And it's really, really messed up. So as you go through the course of the show, what you end up learning is Whispers is also a SENSE8 as well. He was responsible for, the death of the other people in his cluster. He has this ideology of, we shouldn't have this advantage, so I'm going to use it to help track down other people who are like us. And so
he's a race traitor.
For lack of better terminology, I mean, pretty
well,
much.
How they were going to use in Logan, they were going to use. They said they would use Caliban to hunt down other mutants they could kill.
Yeah.
He was like,
no. Yeah, and this guy's just like, yeah, okay, we can do this.
Right.
So incidentally, the woman who gave birth to the August 8th cluster that our 8 protagonists are a part of, her name is Angelica. She and her partner Jonas initially worked for these guys, and then we're like, actually, this is pretty messed up. We're gonna turn traitor on them. And so Angelica runs off, creates this new cluster, shoots herself.
Oh gosh.
Yes. That is the very first scene of the show, actually. That's how it starts. So I'm not even really giving you spoilers, right? So Angelica and Jonas, her partner, worked with BPO. They were initially on that side of helping hunt down other SENSE8s. They obviously turned on that. And allowed this to happen. So then Jonas is basically trying to connect with this new cluster and try to help them. Although eventually he turns on them too. Golly gee, curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal. So adventures are had, and I'm sorry, I'm having a really, really hard time with my notes right now.
It happens. It's okay.
Yeah, the medications have worn off. My brain is very fuzzy. So what ends up happening is Chuck actually brought this up a minute ago when we were just kind of chatting, is one of the best episodes of the show is while Nomi is in the hospital and she's going to be lobotomized, and that's when all of these characters, all 8 of them, start to really connect. They have that psychic connection fully come out, because one of them's in danger, right? And if this is supposed to be an evolutionarily beneficial thing, it makes sense that this emerges when one of them is about to literally lose their mind.
Oh, okay.
So at this point they start popping in and out of each other's lives. They can kind of manifest themselves there. They see each other, hear each other, feel each other, which is really cool. There's some really interesting kind of orgy scenes that happen. Love it. Here for it. Super here for it. And they kind of can channel each other's special skills and stuff. So for example, Sun, the Korean business executive, also is a martial artist. She's really, really proficient in martial arts. So if somebody needs a good ass kicking, she can just kind of pop in, beat the snot out of somebody, and then it's you know, it's like the person who's physically there is doing it, but it's actually her, like
Oh,
mentally
okay.
endowing them with that skill.
Gotcha.
If somebody needs a really, really good driver, they get Capheus the bus driver, and he's just like, all right, we got this. He's like the getaway driver, and like he's a boss at it, you know, and you know, things like that. It is really, really, really cool. Somebody needs to pull off a really impressive performance to like deceive someone. Leto pops in, he's like, I'm an actor, I got this, you know. And the way that the characters all help each other that way is really, really cool, and it makes for some really interesting like science fiction and action like sequences. And then there's also the like interpersonal stuff of they also help each other because of similar life experiences and things like that. You see characters kind of getting paired off in interesting ways, like Nomi and Leto as two queer characters have a really beautiful bonding moment where he's like sitting in an art museum and looking at some art that he's always really loved, and Nomi pops in, and she, having been out as herself for years at this point, having transitioned, having been a queer trans woman, is helping this guy who's closeted be more okay with being himself, be more okay with like, so what if the film industry doesn't like that you're gay? You got to stand by your man, basically. And it's really, really sweet. And there's a lot.
That's why they played that song at the end of the Crying Game.
Yeah.
You remember that?
No,
You haven't seen the Crying Game?
I either haven't seen it or my brain is just not giving me that
Oh,
information
it's
right
one
now.
of my favorite movies ever. Very romantic, and
Yeah.
Stand by Your Man. Yeah, it's done ironically, but also
Thank you.
emotionally.
Awesome.
Sorry.
No, you're super, super good. So for the show overall just has a lot of stuff like that in it, and like it's really visually beautiful. Of course the Wachowskis like are known for really brilliant, you know, camera shots and everything, just really good scene composition, really gorgeous like establishing shots and everything. And it's really, really visually beautiful and stunning to look at because you see all these different environments, and that's because they filmed this all over the damn world.
Wow.
Like there are scenes actually shot in India, in Africa, in the United States, in different places. And like even with the United States, it's like they're in different parts of the country. Will is in Chicago, Nomi is in San Francisco, you know, so very, very different locations. And you know, Korea and Germany and you know, Iceland and all of that. Like it's bananas. Like just they're everywhere. It is so gorgeous. And you see like festivals and holidays. Of course, there's lots of stuff with like, you know, San Francisco Pride, which is huge, very colorful, very beautiful. And like thematically the show is really incredible too, because and this is one of the things that some people who don't care for the show complain about, and this is why I definitely consider this a cult show. It's very much made for the kind of people who like this kind of media.
Right.
People are just like, oh, so basically, golly gee willikers, we're all human and we should like embrace diversity and understand each other's differences, and that's the message. And it's like, well, yes, but it's more complicated than that, come on.
Right.
So there's like an anti-capitalist bend in there because the corporation, of course, ends up being really, really, really evil and messed up. There's globalization stuff with like literally the world coming together, and having like that multicultural and cross-cultural like interaction between everybody. There's like post-imperialist stuff because you see places where there's been colonialism. One really, you know, on the nose example is Capheus lives in like a you know, poorer part of town in Nairobi, and you see that that's an effect of colonialism. You know, that's the reason. It's because Africa has been exploited for centuries. There's gender and sexuality stuff, there's race stuff, there's religion stuff. Kala, the Indian character, is going through like kind of a spiritual crisis at the beginning of the show. There's like really strong messages about anti-bigotry and acceptance and all of that, and like yes, that's all part of it, but there's so much more to it than just that. And I feel like what makes the show so strong is not only do they have such a diverse cast of characters, but they're like those aspects of their identities aren't all that there is to them. Like
Right.
I will talk all day long about how much I relate to Nomi and Amanita as a couple, like seeing that they're this wonderful, you know, queer sapphic couple, but also Nomi is this badass hacker. Like that is cool.
Right.
And Amanita is like this really loving, very protective, fierce person, and she is a badass, and that is just really freaking cool.
Yeah.
And you know, all the action stuff and everything, and like we get to see Wolfgang like crack safes open and stuff. It is neat. There is just so much going on with it. It's just really, really cool. And that's another thing that some people have kind of, you know, griped about with the show, is that like it's too complex, it's too confusing, there's too many threads and all of that. And like, yes, it's like this grand thing that
The
has a lot going
mosaic.
on. Huh?
Yes.
Mosaic.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I
Yeah.
mean, the thing is, these kind of
It's
shows are
ambitious,
popular now.
but I think they pulled it off really beautifully. I really,
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
do.
I mean,
It needed like a few more seasons to really be all that it could have been, and I will
Yeah.
always mourn not getting to have that. But God, the movie was just so well done. It was
Netflix
such a
is
gift.
becoming notorious for doing this.
I'm
Yeah.
so mad at them also for One Day at a Time. Thank you very much. And lots of
the
other
remake.
things.
Yeah, I haven't seen that
Yeah,
yet.
God. Because that show was also really, really excellent. I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah,
Like I'm not
you know, I never after
huge on sitcoms. Like they've never really been super, super my thing, but I was really enjoying that one.
well, the
It was fun.
concept of the original one was very cool. It's just the execution was pretty lame.
Yeah.
Was that the Bonnie Franklin show?
Yeah, Bonnie Franklin and
Mhm.
Mackenzie Phillips and Valerie Bertinelli, who started on when she was 14.
Yeah.
And I'm friends with her on Instagram. I mean, TikTok, and she said hi to me. That was
Nice.
pretty sweet.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
I no way I would ever tell her that I'm a much bigger fan of you than I ever was of your husband's band. I don't like that.
Love that.
But I like her. I've always liked her. I think she's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, her handle on TikTok is Wolfie's mom. And I'm like, come on, you're not just Wolfie's mom. Come on. Don't limit yourself that way. But go ahead.
So last word on Sense8, and I would love
Yes.
to hear some of Chuck's opinions on it too,
Yeah.
just because I know there's been like a lot of head nodding, a lot of yes and stuff, but like he brought up one more thing that I've got to talk about, because it's like the obligatory, every Sense8 fan is obsessed with this song, the Four Non Blondes song. Title is not coming into my brain all of a sudden. Oh my
What's
God.
up, I guess.
What's up? Thank you.
What's
Jeez.
going on?
The
Yeah, I
song
think-
is called "What's Up," but they don't actually say that. in
What's
the song.
going on is a different Four Non
But,
Blondes song.
yeah,
Right?
and, you
What's
know,
going on was their huge hit.
No,
Yeah.
it's the same song.
This is the "Hey Yay Yay What's
Oh.
Going On" song. That one.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and you know, of course, that song is already in pop culture. It has been forever. You know, there's the whole He-Man thing and everything too. But I, honest to God, associate it more strongly with this show than I do with He-Man at this point, because it's all over the show. Like that song comes on in that episode when they're rescuing Nomi from the hospital, and it gets played and replayed, and just everybody has that song in their head, and it comes up over and over and over and over again. And
Well, it
until you
has
get
so much
something.
impact when they all connect around that song.
Yeah, and it's
That's
a
cool.
really beautiful moment, and I think just the fact that all these characters just share that moment of like wherever they are, whatever they're doing, they have this moment of connection over something like that. And like for me, you know, just having so many people I care about all over the place, you know, anything that makes me think of them like that is just like, it just kind of tugs on my heartstrings, you know.
Power of music can do that.
It really can. So it's gorgeous. So
Very
I think
cool.
that's the last thing that I had planned to really
Do you have
say,
anything to
other
say about
than,
the show?
oh my God,
Chuck?
Henry, please watch this show.
I will.
I don't know if I have a whole lot more to say about it, except, yeah, enthusiastically, everything she's saying.
Okay. Good.
Everything.
Yeah.
It is so good. It's so good.
Yeah.
That's cool. Now let me. Well, I guess I'll.
Very
have to-
affecting piece of work.
Okay. Well said.
Hi, this is Henry Covert, and this has been Deep Images. Hope you enjoyed today's segment, and we will be back soon to continue our discussion on Cult TV. Feel free to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for the ending credits and the beautiful music of Ghost of Day, and thank you for watching.